Before we get into the latest ESPN NFL mock draft from Field Yates, if you want more NFL draft coverage as we get closer and closer to the actual 2025 NFL draft, many fan bases already in draft mode, you're in the right spot. Hit that sub button for more free NFL draft videos. Before we dive into the picks, I want to explain the draft order because it is very important. ESPN picked the draft order based on the current NFL standings, which is different than what you see on Tankathon, for example. Tankathon factors in all game strength of schedule. I think is a better way of doing it. Leads less chaos. NFL, ESPN, just of the games played so far. So that is why the Giants have the number 1 pick, not the Raiders number 2. We'll get to them here in a second. Giants take Shedeur Sanders. Yates is a big fan of Sanders. I kind of wonder if maybe Cam Ward is a better fit for New York, and the polar opposite game he has to what Daniel Jones has become down the stretch, or before he got cut, of course, the Giants. But it's not a surprise. Giants go quarterback at 1. Shedeur is a very accurate player. I like his game a lot. And then Cam Ward to the Raiders at number 2 overall. Both of these teams have no viable options at quarterback. Not a single piece. Both their head coaches are on the hot seat. They may or may not be back. Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are very different types of players. Shedeur is the accurate player. I think if you're doing a Shanahan-style structure offense, I think he fits very well in that. Cam Ward is more of the gunslinger. He's more willing to kind of sling it around. Even the different variations of like the McVay tree, I think actually fit pretty well with what Ward is doing. He's a gunslinger. He'll make more mistakes than Shedeur. He'll also make some more crazy explosive plays. Not that Shedeur doesn't, but there's higher variance with Cam Ward. Both these guys have a real argument to be quarterback number 1 and very real concerns on both of them as well. They would not have been quarterback 1 last year. They would have been maybe in the Penix, Nix, McCarthy conversation. So pick your QB. You need one guy from this class. Who is it? S for Shedeur Sanders, C for Cam Ward. Go vote the pinned comment of today's show. That then leaves the Patriots to get the best player in the class. That is Travis Hunter, who would be a lot of people's number 1 corner and or number 1 receiver if he only played one of those spots. He happens to play both. The first non-quarterback, I feel pretty confident is going to end up being Travis Hunter this year. Panthers at 4, I like this fit. They need pass rush help. They have not had success there at all. Abdul going to get a lot of Micah Parsons comparisons. Linebacker turned edge. Wears number 11. Went to Penn State. Freaky athlete. Really upped his play down the stretch. Depending on how you count Travis Hunter, wouldn't be shocked if he was the first pure defensive player off the board. Browns at number 6 take Kelvin Banks, the tackle out of Texas. I also have Banks over a guy we'll get to here later on at LSU. There are some concerns, like is he a tackle? Is he a guard? But the Texas offense hit him a little bit because that's the Texas offense. It's really good. I think he's the number 1 tackle, though. And given the issues the Browns have up front, this makes a lot of sense. Mason Graham's a fun fit with the Jets. I don't know if DT is a massive need, but Graham is a very, I think, quality pick in a really not that great round 1 class. Paired with Quinn Williams, it's a really fun duo on the interior. I do love this fit, too. McMillan out of Arizona to Tennessee. We'll see who the quarterback is for the Titans. Shedeur and Cam Ward being gone mean maybe you don't get a quarterback. Pairing him with Calvin Ridley, though, makes a lot of sense for Tennessee. Jacksonville gets Will Johnson, the cornerback out of Michigan. Missed a lot of time this year because of an injury, but he's had a lot of success to an extent this year, but really previous years as well. Not going to be a tackle probably for Jacksonville with the Walker Little extension, so going Johnson here I think is a quality move. Look, the Bears need offensive line help. I think that's also a coaching, game plan, schematic issue too up front for Chicago. I think Will Campbell's going to be a guard in the NFL. I worry about the length and ability to hold up against top-end quickness. But if you want to try and tackle, sure. Bears need help on the offensive line. So whether he's guard 1, tackle 2, whatever you rank him, it does fill a need for Chicago. The Saints get a pass rusher. Michael Williams out of Georgia. You're seeing some growth. You're seeing that the break. He missed time earlier this year with an injury, then was really freaking good against Texas, was wildly impactful. If he can keep that going in the CFP, this again, Trayvon Walker comps have always existed. You're kind of on that path right now with Williams. Plus, the Saints are not going to have Cam Jordan forever. Bengals need pass rush help. It's Trey Hendrickson and a bunch of bums. I'm sorry, but you guys know I'm right. And that includes Miles Griffin King on the field right now. He's like the fourth edge off for them. James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee is a twitchy pass rusher who gets pressures. They don't trust him against the run. So he's kind of like the opposite of Sam Hubbard. Now, today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. It's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 200 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. It's available in 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. You can bet on college football and, of course, pro football. I always like the flex play. I can get one wrong, stuck on top, but I got a flex play and a power play on this one. I'm kind of going for both here. Patrick Mahomes, more than a half passing yards. It's a freebie. It's Picksmas, after all. Jaden Daniels, more than passing yards. Only 217.5. I like that number a lot against the kind of regressing Saints team. And Tyreek Hill, more than receiving yards against Houston, who's had some issues of late. Download the PrizePicks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Number 12, the Cowboys take Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State. It's be a very popular mock draft pick, let's put it that way. Rico Dell's been good lately, but he's also a free agent, and the Cowboys have invested heavily in backs in the past. Malachi Starks, who kind of like Jeanty, the positional value is going to bring him down, but probably going to be a top 10 player for a lot of people on the board. Jordan Poyer has been pretty disappointing to me. Holland has kind of regressed a bit too. He's also going to be a free agent, so it's a logical fit here for the Dolphins. The Colts, kind of funny with DeForest Buckner is getting up there in age. So you potentially replace one Oregon DT with another Oregon DT. Harmon's had a massive breakout season, especially from like a pressure impact perspective, less so from maybe a sacks perspective. That does have 5, which has been good. But the transfer portal really worked out for him. Speaking of transfer portal, Walter Nolan, the highly touted recruit, now at Ole Miss. I do think the Niners need DT help. Been some buzz. Maybe Javon Hargrave isn't long for that organization, but that interior has just not been good enough for San Francisco this year. I love this fit, by the way. With what the Cardinals do up front with their defense, adding a linebacker/edge in Jalen Walker, I think is actually a super impactful piece. I think the best role for him is going to be like maybe a more blitz-heavy Anthony Barr type, where he's playing a lot of 3-4 outside linebacker, but he can drop, he can do some 4-3 Sam stuff depending on what front you're in. So I do think edge and blitzing and passes where is going to be most impactful. I think that fits really well with what the Cardinals do on defense. Shamar Stewart is he's tough for me. There's plenty to like with what he does. And I think he's going to be a combine winner. He's got 4.5 career sacks. And that kind of sums up a lot of this draft class. The traits are there, the production is not, and how do you value and balance that in the NFL draft? It's tough, but the Falcons do need pass rush help. Offensive line help here for the LA Rams with Alaric Jackson, Joe Newtboom on expiring deals. Josh Simmons might have been tackle 1 for a bunch of people. He had a great year in the 6 games he played before he unfortunately had a knee injury in late October after coming over from San Diego State. So the injury is a concern, but if you give him some time, that actually does fit with LA because they have options short term at least. Who is your favorite player in the 2025 NFL Draft? Let me know in the comments section of today's show right now. Next up is the other A&M edge rusher. And I kind of like Nick Scorton a little bit more. He was super impactful in Purdue. I wanted to cut a little bit of weight. I think it'll make him be a bit more explosive. But I like what I've seen from him. Both A&M edges go in the top 20, by the way. Love this fit. Luther Burden out of Missouri to Washington. You pair him with Terry McLaurin. Burden is a after-catch machine. Not the same guy as like Malik Neighbors. There's like some discounted version of that. I'm a huge fan of Burden. I really, really like that fit in Washington. Denver gets Colston Loveland. Seems to be a semi-popular mock draft pick there. He's not a great run blocker, which you would expect in most cases from Michigan. Not really the case. But he is a really good move tight end. I think Sean Payton can maximize him. Jonas Savaiinaea out of Arizona. This is tough for me. First off, field's super high on him. Houston has had offensive line issues this year. Make no mistake about it. But they have a ton of investment on the offensive line. Laramie Tunsil's highly paid. They drafted Blake Fisher in round 2 last year. They drafted Drew Scruggs in round 2. They've been getting decent play out of Jarrett Patterson. They paid Shaq Mason. They paid Titus Howard. They drafted Kenyon Green pretty early in round 1. He's been banged up too. Another premium pick on the offensive line? I don't know about that one. I think it's also a little bit early for Seattle to take Taylor Booker. Now, that is an org that doesn't value guards super early. Booker is a powerful football player. Very powerful. I think you can go top 50, but top 25 is a little bit rich for me. I do love the fit of Tyler Warren to the LA Chargers. I think that is such a good idea. This is like Will Dissly supercharged, which, because I say Dissly because he's on the Chargers, but like Warren's so much more dynamic as a pass catcher. He's crazy after catch ability. I think he's the best tight end in the class. Mike Green out of Marshall to the Ravens. He has been super productive this year. 17 sacks, breakout season for the Thundering Herd product. Ravens could use more pass rush help for sure. Kyle Kennard, the Packers edge rusher. South Carolina, or Packers take the South Carolina edge rusher, has a bunch of good pass rushers this year. Green Bay is seemingly almost always in the market, it feels like. I don't know if Kennard goes round 1, but I think he will be in the conversation. All right, how many quarterbacks go in round 1 this year? Of note, no other quarterbacks go in the first round. Just the 2 in Field Yates' mock draft. Anyone else sneak in? It's not a great class. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Number 27, and I like this pick. Corners are need for Pittsburgh. Maxwell Harrison, Kentucky was bad. They didn't get a lot of attention. He's a very good player, though. Cameron Williams out of Texas, the offensive tackle. This is a developmental tackle. The traits are super impressive. He is not there yet. He is not a finished product. This is the Eagles, hypothetically, taking Cam Williams, sitting him for a year or 2 behind Lane Johnson, and then letting him be the right tackle of the future. That's fine, but you do get anxious about developmental picks for a win-now team. The Bills, Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. We'll see how long Amari Cooper sticks around, but Egbuka and Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman, it's an intriguing group, and adding more pass catchers is not a bad idea with Josh Allen. Javon Ravel out of ECU. If it weren't for the ACL tear, he might have been in the top 10 or fringe top 10. And like does he go before or just after Will Johnson conversation? He can stay in the purple, go to Minnesota, who needs cornerback help, and I think he fits pretty well with what Brian Flores wants to do too. Ariante Ursary out of Minnesota. Chiefs have spent a second rounder on Kingsley Sua Madaia, but they have not had great results on the offensive line. And I think Ursary sneaks into round 1 in a kind of shaky offensive line class. And frankly, I am surprised to see 3 guards go in round 1. And that's if you include everyone else at tackles, by the way. Guard is a long-term need for the Detroit Lions. That got them taking, or Field hasn't taken Donovan Jackson. He kicks out to a tackle. I think he's more like top 75 than he's a true like top 30 player. But the Lions like investing in the O-line, so I do get it. Who did Field Yates leave out of his NFL mock draft? Drop that player name or names for me in the comments of today's show. Some other top prospects I want to briefly mention. I'm a big fan of L.O.K. Omenor out of Stanford. I love his game. Josh Connerly is also, I think, maybe a fringe round 1 prospect. I was surprised to see Kenneth Grant not get in there. He's a freaky athlete. Those guys get drafted pretty early. Deion Walker, also a freaky athlete, but has more questions in terms of his fit than Kenneth Grant does. And I would not sleep on Jihad Campbell. It's not a great Bama class, but Campbell was friggin' good this year for the Crimson. He might be the number 1 off-ball linebacker when it's all said and done.